Hi folks, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to attempt, as you can see, mosaic explosion or star pattern Damascus. This will be kind of my first mosaic pattern, except for the twisted bar, but this one will be a little more interesting. So let's describe how we're going to do this. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take my typical stack of 11 layers of 10 layers 15 and 20, 11 layers 1095, make a 21 layer billet. Then I'm going to forge weld that, and then I'm going to put it in the squaring dies, and I'm going to square the corners. So I'm going to press the corners in. What that's going to allow me to do is then compress the sides. Obviously I'll be squishing it this way, but compress the sides to get these little C's. Once we have that C pattern, we're going to slice that bar up into 4, and then we're going to get our what's commonly referred to as our crushed W's. We're going to crush that back into a square. It's going to look something like that, and then we're going to square it on the diagonals again, and that's going to give us something like that. Then what we do is slice that up into 4, stack the corners together, so we rotate them so the 4 corners are together, something like that. And that will form our star or our explosion pattern. Then, because that's going to be on the end of the billet, we're going to slice the billet make little slices out of the billet, and then layer those flat and weld them together like that. And we should have a bar with this repeating pattern down the bar. Okay, let's do it.
I like to start with a really clean steel, so I'm grinding it on the surface grinder and then cleaning it up with some acetone.
So here we are, our first crushed W's. Well, we got C's so far. We're going to chop this up into 3 or 4, stack it, and then we'll get our W's, and then we'll start our mosaic.
Well, here's where I screw up a little bit, and I don't normally do squares, so I went and started forging this flat. So now you'll see that I actually have to make it back into a square. So that's what I'm doing here. Here I'm using the mill just to face off the billet, just to get it nice and smooth, because I want these edges to fit together perfectly before it gets cut. And here I'm cutting it with the bandsaw.
We're at the stage I've cut up the billet into slices at about a 30-degree angle. Okay, you can kind of see the pattern because I etched this one a little bit, but now they're going to lay like this, and I've already ground the edges really smooth, and they're going to lie like this. So all the faces are going to be like that. I have an end piece, and thanks to Kyle Royer, if you haven't checked out his channel, I recommend you do before you do mosaic. I'm going to weld these on top of this mild piece of steel just to keep it all together, and that will help it not break apart when it's being welded, or when it's being forge welded. And that's what we're going to do. This, folks, is a combination of kerosene and borax. I figured I would just mix the two together, make a bit of a slurry, get it in between the cracks before it goes in the forge. Obviously, it'll get re-boraxed along the way. Ready for the reveal. I've ground all of the mild steel off and etched it, and here is the pattern. It's pretty cool. I'm really happy. And you'll notice I did strict alternation of the 1095 and 15 and 20, so it looks more like a star than an explosion, but that's kind of what I was going for. So what should I make with this? If you got suggestions, leave them in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next build when we turn this into a blade. Thanks, everyone.